bitterness, fury, anger, shouting, and reviling must be removed from you, along with all malice. Just what was going on in Ephesus, one must ask. I think we could say, however, whatever was going on in Ephesus seems to be alive and well today, going on in every city, town, village, and community. It seems clear from the passage that the problems that we might think are unique to us in history clearly have been a part of humanity for a long time. Lying, cheating one another, anger, stealing, foul language, bitterness, fury, shouting, etc. This ugly side of humanity seems to be a part of life. And yet, the call, the plea at the end of this passage is, be kind to one another, compassionate, forgiving one another, as God has forgiven you in Christ. While we hear this call to compassion in our Christian scriptures, in this letter to the Ephesians, this is not unique to Christians. As our contemporary text alludes by Gandhi, we hear the Hindu and the Buddhist saying the same thing. After all, isn't the Golden Rule a reflection of this kind of human understanding? That at the core of what it means to be human is to have care and respect for one another. The Golden Rule is the principle of treating others as one wants to be treated. Do unto others that which you would have done unto you. What is most compelling about the Golden Rule is that it is found in practically all religions. It appears prominently in Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Taoism, to name just a few. Across the globe, we long to be treated with compassion and understanding. Did you know that in 1993, 143 leaders of the world's major faiths endorsed the Golden Rule as part of the declaration toward a global ethic? We long to be treated with kindness and compassion that we would want for ourselves. In effect, we are all simply saying, let's be human. It has been said that Jesus did not come to earth to teach us how to be spiritual beings. He came to show us how to be human beings. And when we follow him, watch him, all his actions, we see clearly compassion incarnate. The word compassion is derived from the Latin words pati and cum, which together mean to suffer with. Compassion asks us to go where it hurts, to go to places of pain, to share in brokenness, fear, confusion, and anguish. This is what Jesus modeled. He modeled compassion. He recognized the suffering of others and met them in their suffering and calls us to do the same. The problem today, and it seems in Ephesus as well, is that we live in a reactive state. We react rather than pause, breathe, and try to meet people where they are from a place of understanding. Even taking a moment to ask ourselves, where is their pain coming from? Recently, I listened to a broadcast about Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away last month. He was a Zen master Buddhist monk who popularized mindfulness practices. He introduced engaged Buddhism, a practice of bringing mindfulness into the everydayness of our lives. He taught the art of being peace, a way of living to face suffering, fear, and violence inside and beyond ourselves, and yet to become, as he wrote, fresh, solid, and free. Of the many practices he taught, he believed that if we could understand another's suffering, then we would be able to move toward dialogue and peace. This is what the very definition of the word compassion is. I am sure I'm not alone in noticing just how quickly people can react in anger, frustration, bitterness, and all kinds of unkindness toward anyone they perceive as not being aligned with their way of thinking. It seems we aren't even breathing before we respond these days. A headline can evoke anger before an article is even read. We find ourselves in a day and a time where this can be done cruelly from a distance, never even facing the person, hiding from behind the computer, cyberbullying and the like. It is crushing to see this kind of ugliness played out in front of us on the internet, on the TV, and in email. And when we get sucked into the anger and bitterness, we are anything but free. We are all being dragged down. Thich Nhat Hanh said, a person without compassion cannot be a happy person. And compassion is something that is possible only when you have understanding. Understanding brings compassion. Understanding is compassion itself. When you understand the difficulties, the suffering, the despair of the other person, you don't hate them. You don't hate her anymore. This is exactly what Jesus taught us. We need to know the other's pain in order to make peace with them. This is what Paul was addressing in the Ephesians, to remind them who they are in Christ. Can we find our way to being free, to being human, by being mindful of our reactions, taking the time to breathe before we react and enter into another's suffering, understand them? While it may seem like a daunting task, as Christians who profess a belief in Jesus and his teachings, we really have no other choice. We must choose love, and that means we choose compassion. May we live in such a way that those who experience our compassion and understanding will pass it on to others, like the old Christian folk song reminds us. It only takes a spark to get a fire going, and soon all those around will warm up to its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Once you've experienced it, you want to pass it on.